Hello, sports fans, and welcome to this week's edition of the Instant Replay. I'm your host, Dave Garner. Thanks for joining us right here as we get set to rock and roll through another hour of live sports talk, the only live online weekly hour of sports talk here in North Georgia. We thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, as always, we're highlighting and promoting student athletes in a positive way right here with Team FYN Sports. And we do want to remind folks that if you have any information you'd like to share with us, please feel free to do that. We are very active on social mediums across the board, and you can always email us as well at teamfynsports@fetchernews.com. And be sure to subscribe and like us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, our YouTube page at Team FYN Sports. YouTube, FYNTV, Fetch Your News. You see the email and phone number as well, and we're glad to have you. Now, of course, BKP just wrapped up a couple of live online hours himself, but he's pulling double duty this week, folks. That's right. We have him in studio as my co-host today. Want to thank Josh Ross behind the glass. Josh putting the notes together for the show, so I guess we can credit him today as the director/producer, if you will. And we appreciate Josh putting together some notes. We got a lot of high school stuff to talk about, but first things first, though. I want to talk a little bit about March Madness, maybe a little Braves talk, knock out the regional stuff right off the bat. Obviously, Monday night, of course, the national championship. On Sunday, it was the women's championship wrapping up as Baylor knocked off Notre Dame, the defending champs, by a point. What a finish in that ball game. Really, all these games have been close. And with that, I want to get some comments here from BKP, who for the last 2 hours has been talking about Republicans and Democrats and Republicans, but now he puts his sports hat on with us. What say you, BKP?
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Dave. I'm happy to be here. First of all, folks, don't get used to this. I'm not going to do this every day. Don't get used to it. I know you're all excited. I'm behind, back in here talking sports and everything like that. But we've got some major changes getting ready to take place on this show because Dave is getting ready to take this thing to another level. Got a couple new things happening. I can't stick around, Dave. I've got things to do, all right? I'm going to be here a couple days, and then we've got some things going on, all right? But March Madness, you really want to go there right now? Let me ask you a question, Dave. If we're going to go to March Madness right now, was it a double? Why didn't they call the double dribble? Talk to me about that. And the foul, well, that's Virginia. We're talking about the foul at the end. What say you, Dave, on that double dribble and the foul at the very end on number 5, Guy, I think his name's Guy, on Virginia Tech. What say you, Dave?
Well, it's one of those things where, if you listen to the folks, the prognosticators and all the folks, things happen in real time, obviously. I know that's not going to appease a lot of fans, but things happen in real time the way they are. They're not wanting to stop the clock and take a look at everything. I know there's a lot of folks that feel like they should, especially in the final minute or two of a ball game. It was definitely a missed call. But there was you also had a guy pulling his jersey, too, right before that wasn't called as well. So there were a lot of things really down the stretch in that game that didn't get called. But the one thing that did get called was basically the thing that decided the game, and that was the foul at the end, like you said. You've got to give the player an opportunity to land without contact in their jump shot. And so, I know the argument's there. I know Auburn fans were saying it wasn't a foul. I know Virginia fans were saying it was. So, but when you look at it on the replay, there was a little bit of contact there. I could see it called either way. I don't think Bruce Pearl even had a problem with it, the Auburn coach. But his problem was if you're going to call it in that spot, call it throughout the entire game from start to finish, not just there at the very end in a crucial moment. So, personally, I saw the contact. There was a little bit of a bump. It wasn't much. I've seen lesser things get called, but I don't think there's a whole lot of argument that wasn't necessarily a foul at all. But you just want to see the consistency. I think that's the thing that's the most frustrating, really, at any sport at all levels.
All right, well, Josh, do me a favor. Put up number 26. Okay. Now, there's 6 point or 7.3 seconds. There's 7.3 seconds or something. Yeah, I sent you 26. All right, you got it? All right. Okay, you don't have 25 either? Okay, I have a 25 and 26. Anyhow, you got 20? All right, put up 20. This is the foul we're talking about with Virginia Tech. And Dave, what we're talking about there is you could see when you go up for the shot, and there is Guy, number 5 of not Virginia Tech, I'm sorry, Virginia Cavaliers. My apology, that's Texas Tech later. But the Virginia Cavaliers, as you can see, his body's into him. And when you go up for that shot, you have to be able to land predominantly in the area where you took the shot. And he did force that three-pointer. And this is him from the line. Do you have the number 22? And this is actually number 22. This is number 5, Guy. One of his 3 shots from the line that actually ended this game with Virginia Tech. Virginia, I keep saying Tech. I go talk about Texas Tech, with Virginia winning. Do you have that 25 and 26 now? Okay, I'm sorry I didn't send those over. But Dave, did you have Virginia Tech in your bracket? I've asked people this morning, who did you have for the final 2 teams tonight?
Well, I had the final 2 teams I had were I had North Carolina and I had Michigan. So I was off, obviously, as a lot of people were. The only one I knew that had Auburn going as far as they did was my stepdaughter. Years old, she picks Auburn in the national championship. We all laughed at her like, well, okay, that's cute. And then, she gets closer than anybody. But I had North Carolina beating Kentucky, and then I had Michigan beating Duke in the semifinals. So obviously was a little bit off there. I figured Michigan would make it back based on, the previous year and getting back to that moment, of course, coming up short in the national championship game against Villanova. And then I figured North Carolina, been out of it for a couple of years. I like the matchups through the bracket. Did not see Auburn really coming at anything. Matter of fact, just to show you how bad off I was, I picked New Mexico State to upset them in the first round. New Mexico State had won 20 straight games. And if you remember, Auburn only won that game by a point. New Mexico State actually missed a layup at the buzzer that would have beat Auburn in the first round. So, and then from there, they go on to beat Kansas, North Carolina, and Kentucky in succession before, Virginia toppled them, in a game that they probably shouldn't have. Auburn probably should be playing in the national championship. So those were the 2 I had.
Because I do want to show this. Dave, I sent you over 25 and 26 because I want to go over this with Dave. Let's go with the brackets. Put up the brackets for a minute because I want to look at something here on both of these teams. Sorry about that. I had it up here just a second ago and I lost my place here. I have to be able to see it, Dave, on the big screen. Sorry for trying to get, thought I had everything organized here. Now, this one right here, as you can see there, Gonzaga, right, is they're in the number 1. And Texas Tech takes them out, okay? And they only score 69, all right? Texas Tech, if you look at their defense, and I want to point that out, Buffalo, 58. The next game, Texas Tech, Michigan only scored 44, okay? Gonzaga, 69, all right? And looking at their defense, I think I have number 41. Put up number 41 for me real quick. Looking at this defense Texas Tech has. Now coming over, these guys are tenacious. I have another one there. I think number 31 or 32. I think one of those I have there with Texas Tech. And this again against Michigan State. Right there, Dave, if you'll look at that Texas Tech. There's not a Michigan State Spartan that is not covered right there. These guys have the high-pressure defense that we've watched all the way through, but Virginia State's very methodical. They slow the game down. They play their game. What say you about these two teams tonight?
Yeah. Well, you said it. I mean, defensively, Texas Tech is tenacious. I mean, tenacity is definitely a great word. So far, I'm agreeing with everything that you're saying, and it's kind of worrying me a little bit. But anyway, no. But you're right. I mean, their defense, their team, Texas Tech is predicated on defense, and we've seen that over the course of the tournament, how much they've been able to smother some good teams. I had Michigan beating Texas Tech, in the Sweet 16. So it just goes to show you what they've been able to do. They don't miss a lot of stuff. I mean, things that other teams do, they take away. Backdoor cuts, screens, things like that. This Texas Tech defense is phenomenal in being able to work around those things and take away what you're able to do. I think Virginia is going to bring a little bit more offense. I don't know if it's going to be as low scoring. I don't know if they're going to hold Virginia as low as they have the other teams. If they do, they got a great shot at winning. I think Virginia offensively is a little bit more balanced, a little bit more put together than the teams that Texas Tech has played. But I'm not sure that I think this is going to be another one of those games that we've seen throughout, especially since the Elite Eight. I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to the wire. I think there's going to be a little bit more offense. My question is, does Texas Tech have enough offense to keep up with Virginia? Because if Virginia is able to put together some runs and Texas Tech's not able to slow them, it's going to be a long night for the Red Raiders, simply because I'm not sure they have the offense to keep up with a team like Virginia. So we'll see how it happens. I like Virginia in the game just simply because of the story of last year, of course, going down as a first-round, number 1 seed to a 16 for the first time in history. Isn't it poetic that they find themselves now with a chance a year later to win the national championship? I just think there's something to be said for that. I like Virginia this game. Obviously, with this show being live on Monday, folks are going to be able to, pull it up on demand throughout the rest of the week. So we'll know real quick the rest of the week if we look like geniuses or not. But I like Virginia in a close one.
I'll tell you what, the over here at Texas Tech, number 3 seed, going to be playing Virginia tonight. Over Michigan, 61-51. Matt Mahoney had a big night for the Texas Tech. But I want you to pull this up, and in just a second, I want to get Dave's number 44. Do you have number 44 there? This is Owens. I think his name's Owens. Look at the ankle there. Now he goes out with about 5-6 minutes to play in the game. He goes out, goes to the locker room for Texas Tech. This is the big guy, blocking shots, defense, coming down with the rebound, hitting the baskets. This is the leadership on the team for most part. He goes in the locker room, look at the turn on that ankle, comes back out running. He played about a minute after that, Dave, and then they brought him back to the bench and left him on the bench, probably so he would heal up. They put a different shoe on him to get around the tape where they taped up the ankle, but they brought him back. They put him back on the bench with about 3 minutes left, maybe to make sure he's okay. Give me, is it number 4? Yeah, that's Owens, number 43. Do you have that? This is what the guy looked like on the floor. He was hurting. He was in pain. He should be ready tonight, definitely. Also, let me get down to something else I want to show you, Dave, before we come back to you. I apologize. Do you have number 25 now? All right. Now, this is probably 6.5. This is the Virginia game, switching back with Auburn. Okay, Auburn is up right now, Dave. They're up 2 right now. This is, I apologize. This is Jerome, number 11, Virginia, bringing the ball up. About 6.5 seconds to play. And he, right there, I guess, wait a minute, I got it backwards. Number 26, give me 26. Ball goes off his heel right there. You notice the screenshots I keep taking. I slowed this game down over and over to get these shots. But it goes off his heel right there, and then no defender touches it, and he picks it up with two hands and keeps dribbling. Realistically, that is double dribble. Nobody called it. Nobody called it in the booth. Jim Nance didn't call it. Nobody picked that up until basically the game was over. And then when they did foul him, because Auburn had 2 fouls left before you go to the line, it was 1.5 seconds. That's when they threw it in, and Guy made the 3-point shot, or attempted it with the foul, and made all 3 from the foul line. But you see that there, Dave. What say you? And then I want to come back and wrap up college. We got to wrap this up. I could talk about this game all night, but what say you there?
Well, I could too, man. I'm with you on that one. Hey, it's March Madness. It's once a year, so, we got to take time. But, no, first of all, back to Owens. He should play tonight. He reminds me of like a Durant type of build. He's a 6'10", tall, skinny, long guy. It's got good reach, plays good defense. He's a guy that is definitely valuable for Texas Tech, a guy they're certainly going to need, I think, if they want to win tonight. But back to the Auburn-Virginia game, absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt looking back at it. It was a double dribble all the way. Now, if the ball had been touched by the Auburn player, let's say he knocked it away, it's a little bit different story. But obviously, he dribbled it off the back of his leg, regained possession, and then continue his dribble. Like you said, no one picked it up till after the game. After they got to looking at it, it just happened that quick. It was real time. The final seconds of the game, everyone's looking at the last shot. They're not really thinking about a dribble or anything like that. So, it's just a situation where, it got by. Virginia scored. Guy scored 6 points in 7 seconds. He hit the 3 right before that. It was clutch. I mean, Auburn had already started, the fans had already started toilet papering Toomer's Corner on campus. They had already started celebrating. I don't know if you saw that video or not. But Virginia, again, able to hit the big 3 there. Guy, I believe he's from Indianapolis. None of Virginia's players, by the way, I think are from Virginia, or at least they're starters. They're from all over the place. Auburn's basically are all from the state of Georgia, which makes you wonder, hey, why can't we keep some of these guys in state? But it was just a crazy game, a crazy finish. A lot of things had to happen and line up for Virginia to win, and they did. That's why I think it's a year of destiny for those guys. Auburn certainly looked like they had the upper hand, ready to win it. Looked like they were going to be the, not much of a Cinderella story. I mean, they're SEC champs, but, a team that kind of came out of nowhere and really played well at the end of the season. Looked like they were going to win, move on to the title game. But Virginia's in there, and it is what it is. A lot of calls down the stretch, going to win either way. Some things didn't get called. Some things did. It's typical basketball. You hate it for Auburn because they really did have the game won. But Virginia moving on. Texas Tech, of course, they earned it. I don't think there was any doubt about that. I mean, they basically tight ball game for a while, got ahead of Michigan State. Michigan State came back. Texas Tech was able to pull that ball game out and look good doing it. And I don't think anybody would have thought coming in that Texas Tech, unless you went to Texas Tech, that they would be in the national title game. It's definitely an unlikely scenario when you consider you got Gonzaga, you've got Duke, you got Michigan State all over on that side. You figured it had to be one of those teams coming out of that bracket, but Texas Tech, the team that's there, and they deserve it.
All right, Dave, we're going to talk. We can talk this all morning. I know we got to go to break. Got to give a shout out, number 28. You got to give a shout out to Sir Charles. He had all his Auburn stuff. He's Auburn alumni. But even Sir Charles said, for all you Auburn fans out there, everybody at the desk said nobody would have picked up that double dribble. Nobody. So it's done and it's over with. It's one of those things. It's done. It's over with. I agree. I took the shots. Hey, bad break for Auburn. Okay. Would have turned the ball over. There you go. But nobody, even Sir Charles, and it doesn't matter if it's 1.5 seconds left in the game, 3 seconds left, or 8 minutes left to play in the second half. A foul is a foul. And even Sir Charles, as heartbroken as he was at the table the other night, said, folks, it was a foul. And the guy went to the line and made all 3. So that being said, I'm going to go, Dave, and then I'm going to give it back to you in just a second. I got one more picture, but I'm going to go with Virginia tonight. I'm going to take Virginia for the simple reason, Dave, they play their they do not get stressed out. They could be down 8, they could be down 10. They play their game, they come up, they pass the ball around. They're smart, no turnovers. Look at the turnovers. They're not there. They don't turn the ball over because they're rushing. And I'm going to go with Virginia just because they really play this game in a managed way, and they will manage to win tonight. And before I flip it back to you for a break, number 19 in the crowd. Dave, this is the test. I need to know who this is. Number 19, who is this, Dave? And then take it to break.
That looks like Bo Jackson to me, man. I tell you what, you're scaring me today because you and I are agreeing on everything. What's up with that? I agree with you as well. I think you hit it right on the head. The key tonight, Virginia doesn't turn the ball over. Texas Tech makes you turn the ball over. In fact, they lead the nation 20-something% of the time. They force their opponents 20-something percent, I think 4% of opposing teams' possessions in and a turnover against Texas Tech. It's going to be a team that doesn't turn it over against a team that makes you turn it over. That's going to be the key to the game here tonight. Thank you, BKP. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we return, we're going to jump into some high school sports and talk a little bit about the spring season, which is alive and well. I even wore my spring colors today. We'll take you through all that coming up here after the break. You're watching this week's Instant Replay. Stay with us.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and LJ, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World.
And welcome back to this week's Instant Replay. Dave Garner with you, having some fun with BKP today as he pulls double duty as part of this week's Instant Replay, presented by Team FYN Sports. And showed you earlier the show about all the different social mediums that we're a part of. And I want to remind folks that, again, this show is just it's the Instant Replay. It's the replay of what's happened over the past week. It's a look forward into the things to come. But for the full story, you can always go online at FetcherNews.com and check out our Team FYN Sports coverage on all of our social mediums. Again, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We've got folks in the field, on the ground, covering sports throughout our local area. And what we're going to do for the remainder of the program here today over the next 3 segments is we're going to break it down by area. We're going to focus on 3 areas today, our Highway 515 areas of Fannin, Gilmer, and Pickens. And we're basically going to go in that order and talk a little bit about spring and basically do a spring roundup, because we're at that point now, folks, where we're getting towards the end of the seasons. We're moving into the postseason for soccer, into the postseason for sports like track and golf and tennis, baseball right around the corner. And let's not forget, we're going to talk a little bit more over the next couple of weeks about spring football practice, because we are nearing that point where our teams are going to be in playoff mode. And we hope that you'll stick around and listen to what we have to say about that as we continue to report things. But we do want to remind folks, if you do have information you'd like to share with us, please feel free to do that. Team FYN Sports at FetcherNews.com is our email. You can always give us a call as well, 706-889-9700. There you get a look at our social mediums, and feel free to retweet, share our Facebook pages, comment on our Instagram photos and so forth. And we look forward to hearing from you guys. Let's talk a little bit about Fannin County. We're going to bring BKP back in just a second as we get a Rebel baseball update. But I want to talk a little bit about some of the other things that are going on in Fannin County real quick, including boys and girls soccer. Now, the Rebels, again, 4-4-1 overall, 1-2 in the area. Girls soccer, 3-5-2. Still winless in the area right now, both taking on GAC this Tuesday. The road certainly gets no easier. You know, when you talk about soccer and you talk about tradition and history, the Rebels and Lady Rebels certainly have it. Fannin, traditionally a very tough soccer program. They've admittedly been a little down this year, but there's still plenty of soccer left to be played. It'll be real interesting to see how these teams are able to rebound late here in the season, especially against teams like GAC, because we know this region is certainly tough when you start talking about the Dawsons and the Greater Atlanta Christians and so forth. How about golf? Again, Fannin beating Murray the other day, both boys and girls getting some wins recently, and they will play their last regular season match on Thursday. So again, looking forward to seeing Fannin County on the Links. Tennis has the region tournament this week. We are in postseason mode, folks. The Fannin County Rebels and Lady Rebels in postseason tennis region tournaments this week. And for track, they are going to be on the road later in the week, Thursday at Dawson. We'll see the Rebels and Lady Rebels compete at a meet over in Dawson County. That is a region meet. So a lot of things going on in Fannin County right now. We're going to talk about Gilmer and Pickens a little bit later on in the show. But let's bring in BKP now and talk some Rebel baseball for a moment. We know that one team that has really stood out in our local area throughout our entire coverage area here with Team FYN Sports has been the Fannin County Rebel baseball team, and they have been on fire lately. They recently had a series against Cherokee Bluff, and I don't want to steal BKP's thunder. I'm going to let him chime in and tell us what all went down in that series.
Dave, thanks for having me back here for some baseball talk. You know, before I get into Fannin Rebels, I think I'm correct on my facts on this little story, Dave, because when I go watch baseball, I love to watch these hitters. I love hitters. I see all the home run records, and let me ask you, let me switch back to you, Dave, quickly. Is there anything with Hank Aaron going on? Is this an anniversary of the home run king? Let me ask you a question. Not putting you on the spot, you Braves fan. Anything happening there, Dave?
If I'm not mistaken, I think this was the day that he hit 715 in Fulton County Stadium. I could be wrong, but I think that's where you're going with this. But yeah, Hammer and Hank Aaron, man, I tell you what, interesting story real quick. I don't know if you even know this, BKP. My grandfather was a sports announcer. That's one of the reasons I kind of got into this a little bit. He was an announcer for the Milwaukee Braves before they moved to Atlanta in 65, 66. He was the announcer when they were in Milwaukee still, him and Earl Gillespie. He was in it for 14 years or so. Got to know Hank Aaron, Eddie Matthews, Warren Spahn, all those guys, Bob Uecker. I mean, all those guys real well. So the Braves have a special place. I know you're a big fan of another team up north, but I got to say, no matter who I like or who I cheer for, I got to always have a special place in my heart for the Braves because of that connection.
Okay, I wanted to flip that back to you. Go talk about baseball, and I don't want to make this too long, but I watch these hitters. I enjoy the game, and I watch these young guys. And like you said, I think today is 7-15 for Hammer and Hank Aaron. And I remember that day all too well because as a Yankee fan, Babe Ruth, watching that. But all due respect to Hank Aaron for holding that record. Also, a little note here. I'm pretty sure, we always say man up. When I watch these young batters, Ted Williams, I think it was 1941, we'll go back then, because it's yet to have been broken. Ted Williams batted .406. A little interesting fact, the last game of the season, Ted was batting 3.995, I think it was, which means if he would have set that night, the last game, it would have rounded up to 400 for the record books. So it was a double header, and the coach went to him and said, you don't have to bat. You could stay in the dugout. You don't have to bat. You don't have to play tonight. He said, absolutely not. So Williams played that double header at 3.995 batting average, Dave. And when he came up to bat, the catcher looked at him and said, hey, coach said don't give you anything but pitch to you. I think he went 6 for 8 that night, if I remember. 6 for 8. No, I wasn't in the stands. But he went 6 for 8 that night and ended up with a .406 batting average. Sorry about that boring story. I just wanted to man up, talk about manning up on that last day, and also Hank Aaron. You got something? Get it in there, Josh.
All right, here we go. This is what I got. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Chris Davis, who plays for the Orioles, has now started the season 0 for 44. He is 2 hitless at-bats away from tying the record in MLB history, which was done in 2010 and 11, which is 0 for 46. So, guy's making millions of dollars and hasn't put a hit in play yet this year. So, I think I could do that well, at least.
All right, well, fan in baseball, sorry, Dave, got sidetracked. Dave, you're going to have to try to help keep me focused. But, this week in Region 3A, 3A Region 7, 3A Region 7 here, fan in baseball, these guys, the Rebels, they're 4 series, okay? They started out, they swept the series with Lumpkin. They won all 3. They went to the next one with Dawson, 2 for 3. On that one, they took 2 out of 3 on Dawson. They took 2 out of 3 on GAC, Greater Atlanta Christian. And then this past week, they dropped the Tuesday night game and they took the doubleheader. They took both those games at Cherokee Bluff. Now, something I want to say about Cherokee Bluff in that region is that's a new school out of Gainesville this year. They split that school out, Cherokee Bluff, over in Flowery Branch. Actually, when you play them, you're playing a very good JV team. Most of the players from Gainesville that came over to Cherokee Bluff are sophomores, juniors, freshmen. Very good team. So no matter what sport it is, Dave, Cherokee Bluff, look for them to be contenders. And I did watch that last Tuesday night as they won that Tuesday night game against Fannin, but watch for them to be contenders in all sports. That being said, you've got North Hall sitting at 12-3, all right? And you got Fannin Rebels sitting at 9-3. Tomorrow night will be a home game. You want to come out and check that out, 5:55 up in Fannin County. The Rebels will host North Hall, and then they will play them Friday night in a doubleheader. Dave, that being said, if they would sweep North Hall, they would be 12-3 and take the lead. So looking at the top there, and then Greater Atlanta Christian 6-6 and Cherokee Bluff 6-6. I want to give a shout out to some of these batters. They go over there the other night, and I tell you what, these guys I mean, we got some guys that are stepping up to the plate. We got some guys like, Hunter Gray, Gabe Buchanan, Chandler Kendall. Some of these guys are really swinging the bat. And that is the one thing I want to give Coach Stone, the work this year with these guys. They are putting hits together, putting runs together. And, Dave, they're looking at about 5 or 6 pitchers that can come to the mound. So this team is going to go postseason, and they could go deep. Come back to Dave there.
Yeah, and it's awesome because you think about where they're at right now in the season. And the one thing that you want to do is you want to control your own destiny, going into that last region series or two. And that's exactly what the Fannin County Rebels are in a position to do. They're in a position to win the region if they're able to sweep North Hall. Now, that's going to be a tough, battle, obviously, taking all 3, but it's certainly doable. North Hall, we know, is a good team. They've been good all year long, but you've seen close up this Rebel team in person, at least all the home games I know this year. And by the way, I hope you're not in too much trouble, because I know last week you were in a little bit of trouble, so you might have to update us on that. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing from this Rebel team. Another quick comment from you, and then we'll go to a break.
Dave, on this team right here, you got like Matthew Shira. I don't want to leave any names out. Tyler Norton. These guys are putting hits together, and defensively, they are playing so solid right now defensively. And they're still having their trouble innings, and that's where teams are getting them. But last Tuesday night, they've lost, and here's what I want to ask them if you're out there listening. For me, okay, do it for me. If anybody else, tomorrow night win. They've dropped the last 2 home games. Now, they dropped the last 2 home games on Tuesday, and they've gone on the road. Cherokee Bluff Friday night, they won both away games, the doubleheader, and then Greater Atlanta Christian, they won the doubleheader. I'm asking you, Tuesday night, take this one at home. Do it for me, man. Take this one at home. But, also that region right there, North Hall, you want to come out and check that out, because that's going to be some good baseball. And Coach Stone, I'm going to say it again next week. This guy's doing an outstanding job with the staff. He's new this year. He was on staff last year, Dave. He was on staff. He's been on staff for a while, but he stepped up as the head coach. And I tell you what, these guys are playing for him. And as you well know, you got a new head coach, even though you know him. You got to make sure the players are going to play for you. And so the unity, that's the word I'm looking for this team. No attitudes. I'm going to give them credit. No attitudes. I don't see the thrown gloves, the bats. I don't see, the bickering between players. And it's so many things like that is really making this team click this year, besides the great hitting and defense with this team. Back to you, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think you hit it right on the head, no doubt. You basically encapsulated Rebel baseball and what they've been able to do this year, and they have been an exciting, fun team to watch. Like you said, deep in the rotation. Coach Stone's definitely done a great job stepping into that full-time head coaching role. And, hey, if nothing else, do it for BKP. That should be the rallying cry Tuesday night for the Rebels as they get set to take on North Hall in a critical region series. We're going to go ahead and take a timeout. That's going to wrap things up for our Rebel spring wrap up for this week. When we return, we'll talk a little bit about Gilmer and where the Bobcats are at and all of their spring sports. That more coming up. Stay with us.
We're all about truck discounts at Days Chevrolet in Jasper. Now save up to $14,000 off new Silverados or up to $8,000 off new Chevy Colorados. The new truck inventory is huge, but the discounts are even bigger with thousands in savings guaranteed. So when you think trucks, think Days Chevrolet in Jasper, the North Georgia Mountains #1 volume Chevy dealer, where new Chevy trucks cost less.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
At Ingalls, we have a very special family. A family of farmers, ranchers, and dairymen. Clerks, butchers, and bakers. Deli workers, pharmacists, and florists. We work hard every day to bring you the very best. and we'll continue to wake up every morning and work as hard as you do. This is our town, and we built this community together. Ingalls, your neighbor for over 50 years.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Instant Replay. Again, I'm your host, Dave Garner. Thanks for joining us as we transition now to Gilmer County and the Bobcats and Lady Cats Spring Sports. But before we do that, I want to toss it back to the studio. Our very own Braves contributor, Josh Ross, also our producer and director today with us. And Josh, I want to get your thoughts on the Braves. After that opening series sweep on the road at Philly, the Braves have come back home, had a 5-1 homestand wrapping up over the weekend. Your thoughts on the first full week of the Atlanta Braves regular season?
Yeah, I got it. I got it when you come back. You're over there. I'm over here. He wants your thought on the Braves. I get it. He didn't ask my thoughts on the Braves. He asked your thoughts. I get it.
Yeah, it was a good homestand for the Braves after a disappointing start to the season in Philly. You want to feel good about the wins against the Cubs, but they look like they're in a terrible position right now, just getting blown out game after game. They had a rough series right after us, I believe, against Milwaukee. We're headed to Colorado now. Our first game is today against them, where we have Tehran facing off against Freeland. They're 3-7 on the year. We're 5-4. I think we've always played well in Denver, so I'm hoping that the offense will heat up and the bullpen will not, get too beat up over there. That's a big concern for us right now is our bullpen. We've got some help on the way. Some of the guys that have been starting are probably going to transition into bullpen roles as these starters return from the DL. Faulty pitched for Gwinnett the other night and went 5 innings, only giving up 2 hits. So, I don't know. We've got help on the way. I think we're going to be in good shape. What do you think about the Braves so far this year?
I agree with you. Now, in BKP, I know you don't watch Braves baseball. We're going to get the Yankees update here in just a second. We'll let you talk about that a little bit. But anyway, Josh, I agree. I think obviously it was nice to see, after the opening series at Philly, kind of took the wind out of your sails a little bit. We obviously know that, Philadelphia, with the moves they've made in the offseason, a lot of folks believe they're going to be a front runner. It was definitely a kind of an early season wake-up call, but to be able to come back home, to be able to sweep the Cubs, to be able to take 2 or 3 from the Marlins over the weekend was nice. And now you're in a position where you can settle in and play some ball. And I think being able to get Fulte back, hopefully pretty soon, and some other guys, like you said, is going to be a key to this team. Let's jump in and talk about Gilmer real quick, because I know we're running out of time, and I want to make sure we have time to talk about this. I want to kind of run through a little bit of what's going on with Gilmer, where they're at this week, and then we'll get some thoughts from BKP as well before we go to the next break. Let's start with baseball. The Bobcats, again, have played well this year at times. They just lost a lot of close games. 5-13 overall, just 2 region wins this week. They lost all 3 last week in a series against Heritage, and really got shut out in 2 of those ball games. Kind of a lopsided series. We haven't seen a lot of lopsided series with Gilmer this year, but admittedly last week was definitely a tough series for the Bobcats. They'll travel to Trine on Monday for a non-region start against the Bulldogs. And then, of course, they got Southeast Whitfield coming up with their next region series. Soccer has games against Union County this week and North Murray Tuesday and Thursday, respectively. Bobcats and Lady Cats have played well this year, especially the boys. They're looking pretty strong, and they're getting ready for a collision course with Pickens, if you will, coming up here pretty soon. I believe that one's next week. So it's going to be a lot of fun right here as we get set for region soccer. Tennis, again, we talked about for Fannin County, the region tournament going on this week, as it is for Gilmer in Region 6-4A. Bobcats, Lady Cats with the tournament going on tomorrow and Wednesday. And track, it will be Gilmer and Pickens. Speaking of the Highway 515 rivalry, that one will take place on Wednesday. So a little 515 duel there on the track. Everyone going to be in action on that one. And we hope that, we always want folks to tune into our coverage, but we want to see you guys out there as well supporting these student athletes. We always try to highlight, promote student athletes in a positive way right here on the program. We hope that you guys will do that in the community as well. Show them your support and get on out to one of these ball games. BKP, what stands out to you from Gilmer County? Anything that you've heard? I know we're getting set for spring football as well. New football coach there with Kevin Saunders coming in. Talk a little bit about Gilmer. I know you keep your ear to the ground. What's going on from your angle?
Well, I want to make a brief note on that, and then I want to switch back to baseball again, obviously. But, where it comes to the Gilmer Bobcats, Coach Saunders, I bump into the players, and I bump into two of them in the last 2 weeks, and they're excited. They're pumped up. The players are. Reality is if we're going to get into Gilmer football a little bit, the reality is they have to come to terms of where they're at with the program, the Bobcats. They have to come to terms, if I'm correct, they're 0-30, 3 winless seasons, and they just have to build a program. And this is the guy, Coach Saunders. I think he's the guy for the job because I'll tell you what, he's ruffled a couple feathers. He has a couple people have shown a little frustration, or I'm going to just digging for some nice words about it, Dave, but he's ruffled some feathers. But then when I bump into the players, they accept where they're at, and they're ready to turn the program around, and they like the guy. If I could switch back just for a minute, don't mean to transition, I know we're almost out of time, but I want to go back to this 4A Region 6 baseball with Gilmer. I know they've struggled this year. They're only 2-10, but I don't want to gloss over Pickens sitting at 9-3. The Dragons are sitting at 9-3 in the top of this region. And this, when you look at this region, you got Heritage, Ridgeland, Pickens, and Northwest Whitfield. Now, Northwest Whitfield is sitting at 9-3 in this region. Baseball, Pickens is sitting at 9-3. And tomorrow, Pickens will start the series with Northwest Whitfield tomorrow, and it looks like they're at Northwest Whitfield tomorrow to start their 3-game series there. So a lot to watch this week. There's going to be this is also a region, just like I said with Fannin and North Hall. This is also a series this week you want to pay attention to. The Pickens Dragons, and I think it's the Northwest Whitfield. I'm just going to do it from the top of my head. I don't know. I'm telling you, I almost had it there, Dave. Bruins. I got a little help from a friend there in the box. So that's one we want to watch this week, Dave, is that one right there, because the Dragons are playing some good baseball. And you can check out those articles on FetcherNews.com. Pickens, go to Pickens County, Team FYN Sports there. Click on there. RJ Casey has everything updated on Dragon Baseball. But that's one I didn't want to gloss over because you look at Heritage, it's 10-5, and Ridgeland is 9-6. So, Dave, that's something I want to make sure that we have there paying attention to with Fannin this week. And also, while we got baseball going on, I want to highlight FetcherNews.com. Click on Cherokee County, North Carolina. That's Cherokee County, North Carolina. And Jake West over there with the Murphy Bulldogs, he's covering all the baseball over there. So you can check out that action on the Cherokee County, North Carolina website. Back to you, Dave.
Yep, sounds great. We got, again, spring sports going on all over our area, even across state lines in North Carolina. Our viewing area, again, very large, and we're covering it for you. If it happens in North Georgia, we're all over. We're going to go ahead and take our final timeout. When we return, we're going to continue that Pickens Dragons baseball discussion. We'll talk about some of the other spring sports as we officially transition to Pickens County to wrap up this week's Instant Replay. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and LJ, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World.
Welcome back to our fourth and final quarter segment of the program as we wrap up today's show in Pickens County, talking a little bit about the Dragons and Dragonettes. In just a few minutes left here, do want to talk a little bit. We're going to throw it back to BKP and continue the baseball discussion, because we talked about earlier in the show, one of the teams that's really stood out has been the Fannin County Rebels. Another team has been the Pickens Dragons. Certainly, they have stood out this year, as we talked about. A big matchup with Northwest Whitfield this week. They've got a non-region home and home with Dalton before that. But again, Brady Moore has really been on a tear. 3 of 4 the other night with a home run, RBI, and 3 runs and a win for the Dragons. Caswell Smith also going deep as well, has been just phenomenal lately. We'll talk about that in just a moment. I do want to mention real quick, though, before we jump into the spring stuff, junior football player Chad Packus of Pickens County was selected as Georgia's Positive Athlete Award winner recently. And so I do want to, again, congratulate him. Of course, Packus also excels on the baseball diamond, as we know, and he was, because of his accolades, Georgia's Positive Athlete Award winner. Multi-sport athlete there. I said I think of him as a football player just because of, you know, being on that line and the season the Dragons have, but obviously he's getting done on the baseball diamond as well, hence the award and the accolades there. So congratulations to Chad, and we'll talk about baseball in a minute. Golf for the Dragons and Dragonettes. They've had a great year. They're going to take on Sonoraville on Thursday. soccer, the boys, as we know, the girls have been playing pretty well too lately, but the boys have been solid all year long. This week they've got Cartersville, Kingsridge Christian on Tuesday and Friday against Heritage, a big matchup there for the Dragons, who started the season ranked inside the top 10. They've dropped a couple since then, but still remain right up there in the thick of things. And tennis, as we mentioned earlier, for all the other teams as well. Same for Pickens. Obviously, the region tournament this week, both boys and girls enter the tournament. 5th place overall in the region, so they got some work to do. Going to have to knock off a team or two. I know the girls have Northwest Whitfield, and the boys play Heritage this week. And next week's show right here, we'll have a recap of who did what. So be sure to tune in next Monday live or on demand all week long. Team FYN Sports on FYNTV.com. You can go to the on demand tab, watch this show even 2-3 days from now. You can do that. And it's always a lot of fun. We appreciate you guys being with us this morning. BKP, a couple final comments before we get out of here today. Talking about Dragon baseball, as you talked about, they're right there in the region, thick of things, and looking good, man. They got some guys headed to the next level. The talent is certainly there. What do you say about this year's Dragon team?
Well, first of all, with this 9-3, and also with Northwest Whitfield 9-3, this is going to be the series this week that determines you're probably looking very close. And this week, all across the areas we covered, Dave, we're looking at who is going to be the top seed as you go to the next level. And obviously, that determines, because you play a 4 seed in another division, so in your first round. So this week is big for Pickens. This week is extremely big for the Rebels. Also, the Dragons and the Rebels, because this is the week where top seed, you're playing for that, and that's going to get you a home playoff game series, and B, it's going to get you to play a 4 seed. So this is a big week for the Dragons and the Rebels where that's concerned. So I know that's intense this week. It's gotten to that point. Also, when you're taking it to the next level, Team FYN Sports taking it to the next level, want to highlight, I'm pretty sure, I don't want to mess this up, Austin Damon with the Gilmer Bobcats has committed to playing at Reinhardt. Pretty positive that has happened. He is committed to playing at Reinhardt. And another one taking it to the next level, Chandler Kendall, Tennessee Wesleyan. So he'll be out in Tennessee playing at Tennessee Wesleyan. He's taken it to the next level, a couple commitments there. But then again, around all the regions that we cover this week puts you at top seed and trying to win the region. That's where you want to be. Back to you, Dave. Dave, thank you for giving me the opportunity to get in here with you this week. We're working on some things this week. I know that to make this show pop and make some things happen and keep up with all of what's going on in North Georgia sports, and that's why we're called All Over It. Back to you, Dave. Again, thank you for letting me be on with you today.
Sounds good, BKP. Phenomenal job. Appreciate you again stepping in here. Another hour tacked on to the 2 previous hours that you've already logged this morning. Again, double duty this week for BKP. Certainly appreciate it. Always great insight. Always fun having you on, man. I love your insight. Love being a part of the show. BKP's a well-rounded personality. From politics to sports, you name it, he's all over it. We appreciate you being with us. Also appreciate Josh Ross being on with us as well. As always, our director. Today, some producing going on as well. Thank you, Josh. Great job as always, man. And that's going to wrap things up for our show this week. We've had a lot of fun. Started today talking a little March Madness. Of course, basketball Monday night. National championship should be a lot of fun as we officially wrap up the college basketball season. Looking forward to spring football practice in our local area. But first things first, a lot of spring sports, tennis, golf, track, soccer, and of course baseball, you name it. Everyone heading into postseason play. It is crunch time. So these next couple of shows that we do right here are going to be very critical, and we hope that you'll tune in to find out who is headed where, and hopefully we will have plenty of recognition and representation at the state level once the state meets and competitions and all those things get underway, and we're looking forward to it. Obviously, a very exciting time of year for high school sports, and we appreciate you guys watching the instant replay. That's going to wrap things up for this week's show. Until next time, have a great week. We'll see you right here on the instant replay as part of Team FYN Sports. So long, everyone.